Hello, good afternoon, Facebook. Good afternoon. My name is Joanna Daniel. If this is your very first time watching me, I'm here every day, every weekday from 1:30 British Standard Time, talking about how to get through this busy Christmas season. But if you just bear with me one moment, I'm heading over to Instagram. I'm heading over to Instagram to also make sure that they are a part of this experience. So we're connecting over Instagram. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon over Instagram. My name is Joanna Daniel. If this is your very first time watching me, I work with adult survivors of childhood trauma and abuse. I help people heal so that they can function better in their relationships. And at Wounds to Scars, we do that in three ways: through courses, online courses, we do conferences, and we do retreats. Our next conference is March, and I'm excited about that because we're just securing speakers and getting things organized and ready for that. So I'm looking forward to that. So welcome. If this is your first time coming on, we're at day 3 of the 12 days of Christmas. I should have been on over the weekend, but the weekend just did not shape up the way I wanted it to. And I have this tendency of leaning in when something is going on as opposed to pushing through. And so leaning in meant I could not be on here, but I'm going to do the 12 days and we're going to end it before Christmas. So I'm just going to be here every day. Maybe I'll come on twice one day just to make sure that we get everything in, because I know that you're looking forward to it and I enjoy being here. Now today I'm talking about boundaries. I'm talking about, well, we did boundaries with self on day 1. We did boundaries with narcissistic mothers on day 2. And we're doing boundaries with how to boundary with your family members during the holiday season. Now, this is good for holiday season and beyond. Okay. So boundarying with family members is important, whether you're in the holiday season or not. You just need to know, you just need to have effective strategies of how you're going to bound yourself. And I always say every safe relationship have boundaries. All safe relationship have boundaries. So I want to encourage you to start thinking about what is important to me and what do I want people to know and how do I communicate that to other people so that they will know what I like, what I don't like. All right? Now, how to boundary yourself with self. And as I said, it's good for all the holiday season and beyond. So some people fear going home during this period or being with family members because of stress. And the stress might revolve around what they're going to ask me, the things that people are going to say, whether I'll be able to cope. And that fear can be so intense, it can induce anxiety and low moods and plunge you into a depressive state that you don't want to be in. But when you have effective boundaries, it really guards against those things. It really guards against those things. So you might fear being compared to the people who are doing well, or so and so's daughter or son. You might be compared to this family, you might be compared to that. There might be so much comparison that you're feeling it's difficult and it's challenging for you. So those are some of those things. You might feel not good enough, because sometimes when we're compared, that's what it leaves us feeling: not good enough. We're not good enough. And you might be afraid of also the questions that you're going to be asked when you go home, and you're not wanting to be asked those questions, and so it might stop you from doing it. And as I said, this might be just for any season. The questions that they ask, they're continually questioning you and you're not sure what to do or how to respond. And sometimes you're giving information that you don't really want to give, and you're saying things that you don't want to say, but you find that yourself saying it. And so some of the stress might be, how do I not answer the questions? How do I be honest, not answer the questions, but still retain my sense of self, my integrity, and be respectful? Because I know sometimes that's a big one. So you don't have to share details of your life that you don't want to share. You don't have to share details of your life that you're not ready to share yet. You don't have to answer questions that you're not ready to answer. Now, I know that might be easier said than done. When you're used to practicing boundaries, however, it will become easier and easier for you to not answer questions that you're not ready to answer. Okay? So here's a tip. Here's a tip. If going home is, if being with families puts you in that place where you feel like you're compromising on things that you don't want to compromise on, so you might not be ready to answer questions yet. So here's a tip: decide beforehand what you're comfortable saying. So if there's a particular thing happening in your life, and going home they might ask you that about that, decide beforehand what you're ready to talk about and what you're not ready to talk about. So when the questions are asked, there is some information that you can give that you're comfortable giving. If you're not comfortable giving any, then it's okay to say that I'm not ready to discuss that yet. Hello, I'm not ready to discuss that yet. Yes. So that's one way you can boundary yourself. If there's an event going on, if there's a particular area that they always question you about, you can say, decide how much information you're going to share about that particular area. If you don't want to share anything, then it's okay also to say, I don't want to talk about that now. And you have to say it in a way that is very clear, because if you say it in a way like it's a question, they might push. If you say, we won't discuss that now, because it's your life, you're an adult, and it's okay to say that. So nobody can force you to talk about things that you don't want to talk about. Now, here's another thing before I go into that: you can change the subject as well. You can say you don't want to talk about that now. Be comfortable saying that, because you might experience guilt depending on the family systems that you're from. You might experience some guilt. And I want to just let you know that the guilt is yours, not theirs. So you have guilt around telling grown-ups in your mind, because you're a grown-up too. But sometimes when we're in those positions, we forget that we're adults too, and we're talking to adults. Your mother is an adult, you're an adult. Your father is an adult, you're an adult. Your aunties are adults, so are you. So everybody's an adult, but sometimes they put you in positions of child and their parent. And so the tone of voice that they use, the behavior that they use, the attitude that they use kind of put you in a position of child, and you forget that you're an adult. And because you're an adult, you have a right to discuss what you will and won't discuss, because they won't reciprocate. Yes. So that's what way. So be aware of the guilt for you. And if you're aware of the guilt beforehand, then you can put things in place to guard against it, because like, okay, so when I tell them I don't want to talk about something, I feel really guilty, and this is how I feel. So you can deal with that. You can know how you're going to manage the guilt for yourself. Have a drink, leave the room, laugh, smile and leave. There are many ways to not answer. Yeah. Okay, so if it's an area of concern, you can say, I appreciate your concern, but that's not something I'd like to talk about now. So you're not shutting it down straight away. You're saying, I appreciate your concern, but I don't want to talk about my love life. I appreciate your concern, but I don't want to talk about the recent breakup. I don't want to talk about why, and I don't want to talk about how wonderfully they were. I appreciate your concern, but I'm happy in the job that I'm doing. I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine with how I'm raising the children. I appreciate your concern, but I'm still a vegan. All of those things. You can appreciate the concern, but you're still not going to shift position because they think you should. Okay? Here is one tip, and I'm going to end on this. Here is one tip to be aware of: culture. Depending on the culture that you're from, sometimes in certain cultures, these boundaries might be perceived as disrespect. Boundaries are not disrespect, because every healthy relationship have boundaries. When you have a boundary, what you're doing is defining the relationship, and you're really saying, I want to have a healthy relationship with you, but this is what it needs to look like for me. In order for me to have a relationship with you that's healthy, this is what it needs to look like. And though you're not saying it in those words, that's what a boundary will help you to do, to define the relationship so it's healthy. These things we're not talking about. No, I will not discuss that with you. I'm not ready to talk about that yet. I appreciate your concern, but no, thank you. I appreciate your concern, but I don't want to talk about my love life, my job, where I live, my work, how I choose to live my life. I appreciate your concern though. Right? Um, Here is another thing that you can do. If you are the go-to person and you realize that there might be some codependency in your family, and you're starting to become aware of it and want to change, The people who are reliant on you won't easily let up. And so change might not be as easy. But there are ways that, we talked about boundarying yourself in day one. So if you haven't seen that yet, go back and watch day one, how to boundary yourself. But boundarying yourself means I'm aware of my limitations. And if you're aware of your limitations and you know that that's running out, you can say, that's not something I can help you with. I'm afraid I can't help you with that. I can't help you with that. No, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. Just be aware of what you can and can't do and communicate that in a clear way without any kind of gray areas. So nobody has to wonder if you're going to do it next week or not. Don't say I will try to see if I can when you know full well that you won't be able to do it and you don't want to. And if you don't do it and be resentful. Don't do it and be resentful and angry. And don't do passive aggressive. Like you do it, but you're so upset. You don't do it well. You do it with a frown. You do it with anger in your heart. It's best if you don't do it then. If you're going to do something and it's going to evoke those emotions, it's best if you don't do it until you can do it from a place of genuineness. Okay? So those are some ways that you can protect yourself with family members during the holiday season. And remember, boundaries are not just for the holiday, it's for life. It keeps your relationships healthy. I'm going to put some bullet points together and upload it later on so that you can have something as well. If you're not remembering the video, and you can have something like a prompt to look at, and you can remind yourself about how to have that conversation. Practice in the mirror. Sometimes we're from families with strong personalities, and our personality may not be as strong. And so I want to know, how do I get this across? So practice in the mirror. Practice talking to yourself in the mirror, saying these things to yourself. So by the time you get there, or by the time you're encountering these family members, you're well rehearsed, you're well practiced, and you can articulate yourself in a clear way, and there can be no doubt. And they might look at you sideways and they might look at you funny, but just smile to yourself and be content and satisfied that you've said that thing that you want to say, and you're keeping the relationships healthy. All right. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching the videos, and let me know that you've done so through the replays. I really appreciate that. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow as we continue the 12 days of Christmas. Take care.